Welcome, Dolphins fans, haters, and everyone in between to your favorite show discussing the greatest franchise in sports, the Miami Dolphins. This is the PhinsPod. My name is Moose, your host, and there was a flurry of team news at the end of last week, and we're going to need to discuss and get into all of that. From new jersey numbers, goodbye to an old friend, as well as a reshuffling of the defense, we're mainly going to be focusing on that side of the ball today, Brian Flores' baby. Without further ado, let's get into it, and let's dive in.
I'll go to Miami. You do what you need to do to get your entire football team better. And you don't worry about the opt-out. I think the opt-out, Javon Holland, great player. I mean, opt-outs became bargains. And I think when you look at filling needs, generating excitement. Hey, Devontae Smith was my guy, but Jalen Waddle's a great player. I said last week when we talked about it, I said, you put those three names, Chase, Waddle, Smith, up on a wheel, spin the wheel, wherever it stops, I'm happy with who I get. So Jalen Waddle is also going to help, too, in terms of field position. You talk about what he means to that offense, the offensive line, everything they needed to do, set up the pass rusher off the edge in Jalen Phillips. So you got a lot of great things going in Miami. They're so close in this draft, could possibly, with Tua coming back. Remember, now 2 years removed from that hip, his arm strength that everybody questioned, we didn't see what we saw at Alabama. We didn't see that last year. We will see it, I think, this year. So if everything comes together, look out, Buffalo. I think you got a real challenger in the Miami Dolphins. We knew it last year, and we're going to know it even more so this year.
We spoke in last week's episode about how the Dolphins could be releasing veteran safety Bobby McCain, and it happened Thursday afternoon. The writing was on the wall. I mean, not necessarily because of anything Bobby did wrong. He didn't. Reliable and smart as ever. The team as a whole, though, needed to get more dynamic and cheaper on the back end. Brian Flores came in 2019, and he made an overall assessment of the roster. And if you remember, McCain had been signed to a pretty significant deal, one that he was still on before getting cut, and he was signed to that deal by the previous regime. But that was due to his role in the nickel and his play at that position. Bobby, he has short area burst, tenacity, great instincts, as well as overall smarts, which really helped him play in the slot. And he was pretty good there. But per Flores' determination, he was best suited on the back end of the defense as a free safety. And that transition in 2019, it was rough. Early on, a lot of big explosive plays led up, and it was miscommunication from the corners, the safety. It wasn't all Bobby's fault, but it was a rough overall transition. However, as that season went along, and last year too, it proved to be a pretty fruitful change. I mean, he was dependable on a top 5 defense last year. The problem, though, heading into this offseason for the Dolphins, it was clear. They needed to bring in talent and improve the offensive side of the ball, and that meant spending money at key and expensive positions. So the signing of Will Fuller, as well as this specific draft class needing to get signed. Again, Miami has 4 picks in the top 50. That asks for some pretty big contracts coming from a rookie deal perspective. The Dolphins are up against the cap. That was just the truth, and they needed to make room. So the releasing of McCain saves Miami $5.5 million, which is a significant chunk when you consider the replacements that they have at the position. And we're going to get into that. Who are those replacements, and where do we stand on the back end of the defense and just the defense overall this season? Remember, the Dolphins' defense is multiple in their approach. That means that you see a variety of fronts and schemes. So, in a 4-3 defense, where the Dolphins are looking to mainly stop the run, so for example, if we play like the Titans, the defense is likely going to look like this. Emmanuel Ogbah on the edge with a rotation of Christian Wilkins, Raekwon Davis, Adam Butler, and Zach Sealer in the middle, occupying 2 spots against the guard. So likely you'll see Christian Wilkins and Raekwon Davis start, with Butler and Sealer coming in to spell. On the opposite end of Ogbah, you have Jalen Phillips starting. Again, this is when we probably are going to want more size on the defensive line and on the edge too, and containing a potential bounce out. You want defensive ends who can set the edge, and that's what Ogbah and Phillips can do. And yeah, Phillips is that good. He's going to be seen on the field early and often, in my opinion. Traditionally, in a 4-3 defense, you'd see 3 linebackers in the front 7 with a Will, Sam, and Mike. You see Flores and Josh Boyer, though, replace one of these linebackers with a safety or a corner, depending on the receiving matchups. And so, in this case, with that defensive line in place, Ogbah, Jalen Phillips, and a rotation of defensive tackles, you see Andrew Van Ginkel likely playing on the strong side of the defense, so he'll be moving just to whatever side the tight end's on or whatever side the front is heavier to. That's where you're going to see Andrew Van Ginkel. And that's going to be next to either Jalen Phillips or Agba, playing off of them a little bit, likely standing up. And then at the mic, you're going to see a rotation of Benardrick McKinney on early and short distance downs. McKinney was brought in to stop the run, right? So if you're playing a team like the Titans in this example, you need a guy who will find the hole, plug it, and help contain these runs to short little chunks rather than breaking you off for 6-7 yards apiece, which would happen often last year with Jerome Baker in there. But a rotation of McKinney and Baker, too, who's going to be used plenty. He's going to see the field more on third downs, third and longs, and in covered situations. Again, this is when we're playing a team that is more run heavy. On the outside, you're once again going to see Xavier Howard and Byron Jones and start to the best secondary in the league, in my opinion, and hopefully some Noah Igbenogany sprinkled in if he can take a big step in year 2. Injuries are a real concern at the corner position, especially with guys like Byron Jones and X, who have histories of injury-riddled seasons. We saw Byron Jones miss a few games last year as well, so Flores puts a premium on having solid and reliable depth at the corner position. In the nickel, you're going to see a rotation of newly signed Justin Coleman. He's probably going to start over Nick Needham. I just think he has a higher ceiling than Needham does. But again, Nick Needham has been in this specific defense for a while. But to be fair, Coleman has experience with the New England Patriots defense. He went to Detroit under Matt Patricia, so it should be a pretty seamless transition for him too. At safety, Eric Rowe is going to be starting at strong safety. And we talked about why he was safe versus Bobby McCain, because physically he can provide things that McCain just couldn't, and he can provide things that other guys on this defense can't. You can't have Byron Jones match up with the tight ends that you have Eric Rowe match up against. You can't have Nick Needham match up with a physical slot guy the way that you can Eric Rowe. So he's very reliable and dependable as well as versatile, which is the name of the game of this defense. And he's going to be standing 10 to 15 yards off the line of scrimmage, roaming around, similar to his exact same role as we saw last season. And then at free safety, you're likely going to see Brandon Jones to start and replace Bobby McCain, but Javon Holland should take over that role as the season progresses. So all in all, in that specific case, that's 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 3 cornerbacks, and 2 safeties. And that's going to be when Miami's mainly looking to stop the run or maybe on 1st and 10, depending on the matchup. And their base defense, what I think we're going to see them do most of the time, this is going to feature less beef on the front 7 and put a focus on athletic sideline to sideline players who can match up with all different types of skill sets and offensive weapons. So in this case, if this is a Chiefs team, or Miami might be playing the Bills like this going in the future, but you would see Emmanuel Ogbah on the outside with Phillips coming in to spell him. But again, Miami's not going to be having 2 pass rushers. They're likely going to have one guy focus on pass rush and then use 2 defensive linemen as a rotation, one of them playing head up on the tackle. So Christian Wilkins is going to pretty much be on the field all the time, but Raekwon Davis too, Zach Sealer, Butler, and Jenkins too. The Fins have a ton of beef and good depth at the defensive tackle spot, which allows them to have that rotation and have 3 defensive linemen down. And then on the edges, on the strong side, you'll likely see Andrew Van Ginkel, Brennan Scarlett, and Vince Beagle too, if he can return to form and get into the rotation. Jerome Baker is going to sit in the middle when we're playing pass-heavy offenses because, again, he's a far better option in coverage than Benardrick McKinney. He can pick up the flat, tight ends, or an escaping running back, something McKinney is a little bit of a liability when it comes to. And then the rest of the defense is just going to be roaming around behind this pretty light front 6. It's not really a front 7, frankly, a front 5. They will have up to 6 to 7 DBs, I think, on the field at any given time. And the goal of all this roaming and confusion is to disguise their coverages and just cause mayhem in the quarterback's mind. And in this type of defense, their base package, I think the Dolphins are going to be employing the use of, at minimum, 6 DBs. Depending on matchups, 3 safeties, 3 corners, 4 corners, 2 safeties, 4 safeties, 2 corners. It all depends on how physical and big the receivers are that we're playing. It depends on those matchups. This style of defense, it makes versatility a weapon and a tool in your belt of disguise and confusion, right? Bobby McCain, he was limited in what he could offer for this tool belt. He was not elite at coverage, not a sound tackler at all, so he would not be able to play up closer to the box or in the box like a Brandon Jones or Eric Rowe. Plus, McCain's aging and expensive when you compare him to the rest of the roster. Look, it hurts to see him go, especially considering the fact that he played the game the right way. With the edge that you like to see, he was a leader on the team, but it was time, and it was time for him to go, and it's the best thing for the Dolphins going forward. The team is not resting on their laurels, however. Just because they let McCain go, it's not because they feel like they're good at the position. They still want to find more competition in the secondary at prices that they can stomach. So they brought in former first-round pick for the Indianapolis Colts, Malik Hooker, for a visit. Although a deal was not done, and although he was having a lot of fun on Twitter with Dolphins fans, I don't really know if a deal's going to get done at this point because he did leave the building. And oftentimes, if Miami targets a guy, brings him in, and the fit's not there, they won't sign him. Usually they'll get the guy signed if they want to bring him into camp. But it could just be Hooker feels like another injury could happen. His price could go up. Miami's probably trying to get him as close to the veteran minimum as possible. So a deal might not be done at that point. But the Dolphins did sign Jason McCourty from the Patriots, and he is the lesser of the McCourty twins. Don't mistake it at all. Devin McCourty is 3 times the type of player Jason McCourty is. Listen, I'm not a huge fan of this move. I was a little confused, and I wasn't really. I know he won Super Bowls in New England, and he knows his role and how to play in this defense and this scheme, but he's old, and he was not a great member of a pretty mediocre defense last year. Not to mention his age. 33, he's not getting faster or better at this point in his career. And I feel like this move, dare I say it, don't get mad, but it's the most Gase-esque thing Flores has done yet. Bringing in a friend of his, a guy who he knows his system. He knows he's not going to fuck anything up. So come on, Jason McCourty. Even though you're 33 and washed up and the Patriots let you walk, look, the signing of Kyle Van Noy and Eric Rowe, those had upside. That's why those aren't really Gase-esque moves. It was scheme fits, guys who you knew fit what you wanted to do, who also were young enough and were able to contribute enough where it made sense. But I don't see that upside with Jason McCourty. He has safety experience, yes, and ticks off the boxes for versatility. You can put him on the outside, maybe even in a pinch, he can play in the slot. But he's not particularly good at any one of these things this late into his career. But hopefully that overall description, hopefully with Jason McCourty, he proves me wrong and he can just be a good locker room presence, depth guy. Maybe Miami wants him to mentor all these young DBs. That would make more sense to me. And he won't see a lot of playing time and only come in case of injury. That would be the best case scenario for Jason McCourty. I don't want to see him shoehorned into the starting role just because he knows what to do. I want Javon Holland to jump in there at safety. I want Brandon Jones to be playing. I want Noah Benogany to be playing just to grow and develop, and also so we can see what we have in these guys. I think Jason McCourty just stunts that growth. But hey, the Dolphins clearly feel differently, and that's why they brought him in. Hopefully, the last couple minutes have helped provide a pretty good overall description of the Dolphins defense, right? And helped illustrate why the team focuses on the positions that they do. Defensive backs are the backbone of this defense, and the scheme calls for versatile defensive tackles too, who can then flex out and play head up on outside left tackles or right tackles if need be. And this is something that Raekwon Davis has flashed an ability to do, and we know Christian Wilkins can do as well. So maybe Adam Butler and to a lesser extent Zach Sealer will be playing this role too, but having athletic defensive tackles who can be stout in the run but also provide some pass rush is what Miami's looking for, as well as DBs who can play safety, corner, slot corner, and sort of flow in between and change play to play. And it doesn't really matter. It's all about coverage and knowing your assignment and where your help is. And that's really where the Dolphins defense focuses on. They do not put a premium on edge players. We saw that last year. And rather than asking their defensive ends to just pass rush and go get the quarterback, break the game by sacking the quarterback 4 times. That's what we're paying you for. No, the Dolphins don't play that. Instead, they ask their defensive ends to hold and set the edge, contain runners, and not let the quarterbacks get too comfortable back there. Don't let runs bounce to the outside, and contain mobile and athletic guys so you're not getting killed on the ground by them too. Throw in a good to great pass rusher into this defense, and now we're elevated to a whole other level. And that's what you hope Emmanuel Ogbah can continue to grow and develop into. He showed flashes. During the middle of last season, when Miami's defense was really hitting their stride, he showed flashes of brilliance. But it did peter out by the end, and he was not nearly the same force that he showed to be early on. But mainly, expect the sack specialist role to be Jalen Phillips for the taking. Yep, he has all the talent to do it, and if he can provide a real push and collapse pockets consistently, Miami can win a championship with this defense. That's facts. Moving on to some smaller news surrounding the team, some other signings. The team brought in a kid who has not played football, so their own Tim Tebow move here, but he has the bloodlines and physical talent that you want in a developmental prospect. Jabri Blunt, son of Hall of Famer Mel Blunt, the Miami is going to look to develop this 6'7", 230-pound former basketball player into a tight end. Nothing too crazy here. Bring in an elite athlete and see what you can do. He's got the pedigree. You know he knows something about football. So I don't really have high hopes, but hey, you never know. And it's good to see Miami's looking everywhere, including the CFL. They brought in some guys from the CFL in this regime, including Sam McGuavin, but I believe he was here before the new regime came in. So you know Chris Grier has no issues trying to find talent wherever he can. Now, what I know you really came here for, jersey numbers. With the new league rules allowing skill players and some defensive players to dip into the single digits, there has been a bunch of changes. And it's going to be a new reality that we have to get accustomed to. Tommy Boy is not going to be happy about it, but I think some of you are going to be considering how sexy some of these unis look and how they might look when you buy them. And you're like, damn, you know what? Not too bad. So starting off, Albert Wilson changes from 15. Well, that number 15 was being passed around last year. He changed from 15 to what he wore in college, number 2. And look, I don't want to read too far into this, but the Dolphins have really kind of kept Albert Wilson around in their social media posts, and whispers suggest that he's not going to be released. He's going to be a part of the Dolphins offense, and that's something I'm a fan of. If he's part of the plan, I think Miami really could use what Albert Wilson provides. Obviously, to a lesser extent now with Jalen Waddle, but having multiple guys who you want to give quick screens to and just get the ball into their hands so they can make a play, that's not a bad thing. And Miami does need depth at that specific type of role. Number 3 is going to be worn by Will Fuller. He's not wearing number 14 as was initially reported. He's got number 3. That's hot. Lynn Bowden Jr. changed his number from number 15 last year. Everyone was wondering, like, if he got 15, Albert Wilson must be gone, right? Nope. No one took number 15 on the offensive side. Lynn Bowden changed to number 6. Allen Hurns, his future on the Dolphins is a little more unknown, but he changed from number 17 to number 8. So Miami has 4 wide receivers now in the single digits. You got Albert Wilson at 2, Will Fuller at 3, you got Lynn Bowden Jr. at 6, and then Allen Hurns at number 8. Noah Igbenogany, perhaps the most divisive change when it comes to jerseys, has left the greatest number 23, behind in exchange for number 9. And look, if you're a cornerback and you're wearing number 9, you better ball the fuck out. That's all I have to say. That's a bold move. You know, you better be hot shit if you're going to be wearing number 9 as a cornerback. So, Noah, I expect a step, and that's got to be a confident move. You better not just be doing that for aesthetics. You better feel like you can wear that number 9. Jacoby Brissett, he's going to be donning number 14. And please, Jacoby, honor this number and do it justice. Do it the justice it so deserves. A great man wore that before you. Fitzmagic, baby. Please, backup quarterbacks, do 14 justice. It's been a good number for Miami. You got Jarvis Landry, too, who wore that. Jalen Phillips beat out all the wide receivers in the fist fight for number 15, and he kept his college number. He wore 15 at UCLA his freshman year, wore 15 at the University of Miami, and now he'll be wearing 15 for the Dolphins. The first ever defensive end to not be in the 50s or 90s or 70s for the Dolphins. So that's exciting, I guess. Depends on where you stand on this. But look, he hopefully will make that 15 look great by sacking Mac Jones for years to come. Jalen Waddle is going to be retaining number 17. Reed Sinnett, who had that number before, and if you were listening last time, we implored that he change his number just to give it back to Jalen Waddle. So happy to see that happened, and hopefully Waddle gave him some cheddar in return. But Sinnett changed to number 4. So, number 4 is not that great. The number 4 looks weird. I'm not going to lie. Some of the Dolphins' numbers don't look great, in my opinion, and 4 is one of those. It looks a little bit off. But a few other notable numbers. Javon Holland, who wore number 8 in college, and many thought he would wear again at the NFL level, is wearing number 22. I like a safety wearing 22. That's nice. Jared Dokes, the running back, wore his college number as well, 23. Gets that from Noah Igbenogany, who jumped to 9. Malcolm Brown will be donning number 34, which, again, I feel like I said this a year ago. When Jordan Howard was signed and took 34, that number needs to be retired. Like, I just don't get it. I don't understand. Miami in the 21st century has not had many dominant athletes. Jason Taylor, yes. Zach Thomas, yes. Ricky Williams, yes. So he deserves to be right there. However his career ended with Miami, be damned. He came back and proved his worth, and I had already forgiven. I mean, it was stupid. We all now know it's 2021, all right? I was a baby when you all were feeding me lies about why Ricky Williams was a horrible person. He's not. He just wanted to get stoned and play football, and the 2000s world did not let it happen, and we suffered as a franchise because of it. So put respect on Ricky Williams' name and retire 34. But if you're going to wear it, Malcolm Brown, you better be good. Benardrick McKinney, he takes number 50, meaning Blake Ferguson, our great long snapper, is going to be changing his number to 44. And new tight end, Hunter Long, will be wearing 84. Chris Chambers' old number, not at the same level as Ricky Williams, although some of you may disagree, but 84, fire number for a tight end. So hopefully Hunter Long can do it justice. And the last piece of news for today's episode is the NFL announced the offseason training schedule for all 32 teams, so we can expect a flurry of news and buzz from those camps and minicamps at those times. The Dolphins are going to be beginning their OTA offseason programs. It's optional to attend, but we all know what that means. Everyone's got to be there, and they're going to be spinning it like, look at the buy-in. Look at all, they love the coaches. They love this. I mean, to a certain extent, that is true, but I think it's across the league. Players know they got to show up. They got to look good. It's like job orientations that they say are optional. You know you got to go. So the Dolphins' mandatory offseason programs are going to be May 24th to 26th, so coming up in a couple weeks, June 1st to the 3rd, June 7th to the 8th, and June 10th. And then they're going to enter officially mandatory minicamp right before official training camp kicks off. But mandatory minicamp will be on June 15th, and it's going to run through June 17th. I don't believe the Dolphins are going to be allowing a ton of access like last year because of obviously the pandemic. So look online, see if there is a way potentially. Miami's allowing some fans into the area to watch minicamp and the OTAs. Again, I would love to be there and get a chance to see this new team up close and personal and see how explosive Waddle and Tua can be. But I highly doubt it, and the Dolphins, like last year, won't be releasing a ton of video for us to salivate over. But hey, I know we took a bit of a break towards the end of last week after the draft, but we're back now, baby, and we're only going to get better. It might be the offseason for the Miami Dolphins and the NFL, but we won't be sleeping here at the PhinsPod. Fins up.
And the big thing is where I would just go, that's going to be big with Tua. Yeah, we got Jalen Weil and Hunter Long and Liam Eichenberg, but the offensive line has got a first rounder on it from last year and a second rounder on it from last year. They're stacked up front. They are like putting on a clinic on team building with the Miami Dolphins. We're coming away with every position going, damn, is that one of the top units in football at that position? Damn, is that one of the top units? I mean, it's really getting scary what they're doing. So, yes, they help Tua out while also helping out their whole football team with two amazing defensive picks in the first and second round, too. So, I love what the Dolphins are doing. I'm a huge fan of Greer and Flores and what they're building down there.
That's going to do it for us here today. Thank you guys so much for listening to the PhinsPod. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, thank you to Timothy Ritchie, member of the pod and supporter of the show on Patreon. If you guys want more of the show, check that out. Links in the description or head to patreon.com/PhinsPod. Thank you all so much for the continued support. And please remember to like the video if you enjoyed the show and subscribe wherever it is you're listening, just so you never miss a chance to chat about your Miami Dolphins. Remember that the PhinsPod's available on all platforms, so Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and YouTube. You want to mix it up. You want to listen to me in the gym, on the way to work, on the way back, or you want to sit, eat some food, eat a cheese sandwich, and just enjoy a YouTube video. Find us there as well. Continue the conversation with us on Twitter and Instagram at PhinsPod. Hope you guys have an amazing day. Until next time, stay safe. Love y'all.